famous Apollo Theater, where dreams are born and legends are made, is proud to present It's Showtime at the Apollo.
Welcome to Showtime at the Apollo. What are you gonna do for us, Alcina? You breaking my hand, you know that. Are you nervous?
Yes, I'm nervous.
If you are ready for the whole Apollo experience, ready to show the world what we do, everybody see yeah. Everybody see yeah.
Now, the Apollo stage is one of the most legendary and horrifying places for any entertainer that came up in the era of talent shows. The audience would not hesitate to hold their tongues if they felt you weren't it, and you will be viciously booed. Here's a list of entertainers we know today that either met success and or was bluntly booed off the Apollo stage. Tracy Morgan. While trying to get into the comedy game, Tracy Morgan took to the Apollo stage to show off his comedy skills, but was horrifyingly booed.
I did a joke. At first, guy came on before me, was on what we call a unicycle.
The guy was on a unicycle.
Yeah, he was juggling, and the crowd went crazy.
Right.
And I was backstage right over there. I said, how am I follow him? Yeah. So when I came out and I said, you guys love the guy on the unicycle? And they said, yeah. I said, my son died on the unicycle. Yeah. Oh. I did myself out. It was too late. I was done.
Though this did not deter him from his goal. Tracy says that being booed gave him the balls to basically navigate his life in the industry, and that if you can survive getting booed at the Apollo, then everything else is a cinch. He carried this attitude throughout his career, and it sure did wonders for him.
Stressed out, man. Just came home from jail. Everybody in jail do that same hard jail walk. You go to jail, this is everybody in jail. Not me, man. I went to jail. They thought I was on medication. Because I came through on some other stuff. I came through like this. And then they got skydiving. What are you jumping out the planes for? What are you jumping out? If the plane ain't on fire and getting ready to crash, sit your ass down. Sit down.
Machine Gun Kelly. Apollo being a historically black theater with a basically predominantly black audience and viewers, the last thing they expected was for someone like Machine Gun Kelly to roll up on stage. He says the minute he stepped out, he was booed ferociously, and that once he began to rap, they became quiet, and after a while, they began to cheer.
You know, being the white, like a white guy in an all-black lineup at an all-black, damn near all-black audience, and the harshest theater in the world was crazy. Like, I got booed as soon as I stepped on stage.
Really?
Yeah.
They didn't even wait for you to perform?
No, I didn't have the microphone in my hand, like, nothing. Just boo.
And what about after you started running?
Crazy.
Yeah?
Crazy. First was silence, then, like, just big build up, like, while I was rapping, and then this big drop, and everyone just was just like, holy shit.
Machine Gun Kelly was the first white rapper to ever perform on the Apollo stage, and the first rapper in general to ever win at the theater.
I targeted, I got him. They said with my stardom, y'all would tear me down like sawdust. Competition caught. Y'all in visitors parking. You paid for this event. I headline this like Marvin. Y'all and all of these rappers, they talk. We put a some of the stuff in their jaw. Half of these rappers keep talking about white snow through my soul in. And I never threw the game on it. I live in the summer in the New Orleans. On a big bang, take a millennium, somebody better go and let them start. Everybody know I'm that kid and they wanna keep me mad. Gotta take them new shades and pray they shouldn't. Gotta keep on breathing, man. Gotta keep succeeding, man. Gotta put that damn boy from Cleveland on the TV, man.
Luther Vandross. Like many others, Luther Vandross started his musical journey in a group called the Shades of Jade, that would even go on to perform on the Apollo stage. After performing as a solo artist at age 18, Luther would take on the Apollo stage during amateur night. Now, this may be hard to believe, but Luther sang his heart out on that stage 5 times and was booed off. In the long run, everyone who booed him got the luxury of eating crow for the next 36 years. Lyfe Jennings. After spending 10 years in prison and taking song requests from cannibalistic alcoholics with $50, 2 weeks fresh out the pen, Lyfe Jennings decided to try out the big time by taking his talent to the Apollo stage. At first glance, the way he looked and dressed in a puffer jacket with fur, silver chains, and a sturdy set of Timbs, people were going to judge. The crowd immediately began booing before he could even begin to sing. Lyfe stated, "Thinking back on it, I was confident. I always try to pride myself on knowing why people do what they do, and I felt in that situation, they thought I was a rapper. I already knew they were real hard on rappers, and they didn't accept me at that point. Now, if they booed me after I get on and did my thing, then that's something different. But I was on a mission then. I was focused." He ended up wowing the audience with his vocals and acoustic guitar. After winning 4 times in a row and being paid to perform a 5th time, Lyfe Jennings went on to sign a deal with Columbia Records. His debut album, Live 268-192, which was released the following year in August of 2004.
Hadn't been broke, hadn't been talked about, something awful done been lied on by so many folks. If anybody says that that's strong, they're lying. She crying is like taking your soul to the laundromat. It's like the feeling that you get when you see your grandmama smile. All the heavens open up and blessings rain down. Go on, child, and cry. Go on and cry, cry, cry.
Lil JJ. Lil JJ appeared on the Apollo at age 12 in the early 2000s doing stand-up. He left the crowd in stitches with his mature humor. This isn't exactly an amateur night performance, but it's a hell of an honorable mention.
Cry again, and I want y'all to say, "What's wrong, JJ?" All right, y'all got that? Kelly took my girlfriend. Man, I'm gonna start out by saying, y'all got some beautiful women here. Beautiful women. Especially you. You wanna be my babysitter? He not you laughing, I'm serious. Better quit coming around me like that. You know I'm going through puberty.
Her, Gabby Wilson. During the end years of Showtime at the Apollo in 2007, her, then known as Gabby Wilson, appeared on the Apollo stage after her mother sent in a tape in hopes of her being on the kids segment. After being selected to audition, she didn't even have to sing a note. They wanted her to perform on the show. Gabby ended up flying to New York and had the entire audience clapping as she sang her rendition of Aretha Franklin's Freeway of Love. Bobby J Thompson. At just 5 years old, Bobby appeared on the Apollo, giving the audience an energetic rendition of Bow Wow's What's My Name. It's truly a must-see.
A big body shot, ride on dubs, I'll be seen with the best, heard with the best, locked down from the east to the west. Look in my eyes, y'all know I ain't been That's why all through the streets are here saying this bow wow, yippee-yo, yippee. Where my dogs at? Walk with me now. Bow wow, wow, yippee, yippee. Yeah, I'm a good one. What the stuff I was going down. Bow wow, wow, yippee-yo, yippee, yay. Where my dogs? Walk with me. Bow wow,
Bobby would later go on to play the mischievous Stanley on the Disney Channel series That's So Raven. Jazmine Sullivan. In 1998, an 11-year-old Jazmine Sullivan made an appearance on the Apollo stage, belting the good old gospel tune Accept What God Allows by Twinkle Clark. She sang the song under the floorboards like she'd been here before, hitting high notes and complex riffs. The audience gloriously cheered her on, as she was then, and still today, a vocal house not to be played with.
Accept every trial, accept it even now. He'll give you, he'll give you a smile. Put it in his hand. He has master plan. Your trial is but a stepping stone. It will lead you. I might only be 11 years old, but I come and tell you that it leads you to your heavenly
Sammy. Also in 1998, before he was singing tunes like I Like It, Can't Let Go, and Come With Me, Sammy took to the Apollo stage in his Sunday best, giving Steve Harvey a run for his money, singing a cover of Stevie Wonder's My Sherry and More at the tender age of 10 years old. His soulful cover proved him to be the winner and put him on the path to signing a record deal the very next year in 1999 with Capitol Records. Dave Chappelle. Struggling to break into the comedy scene, Dave Chappelle moved to New York in hopes of propelling his career. After appearing on Star Search and not winning, they decided to take a crack at the Apollo stage. That night was the first time he had ever been booed, and he says it's a night he remembers clearly.
I said, I'm gonna go to that Apollo and rip that mug. I went for the regular Wednesday amateur night. When I say I got booed off stage, I still remember that boo. I'd never been booed off stage before, but I just remember looking out and seeing like everybody booing, everybody. Even old people. I was like, who boos a child pursuing his dreams? Like, this is the meanest crowd in the world. And that sign went off, and that dude comes out tap dancing.
Sandman.
Sandman. I wanted to choke the shit out. I hate you. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Wow. Best thing, because before that time, I had never bombed, let alone got booed off stage. And bombing was horrifying. Nobody wants to bomb. Nobody, you know, when people say you do comedy, what happens if nobody laughs? I don't know. So that night was liberating because I failed so far beyond my wildest nightmares of failing that it was like, hey, they're all booing. My friends are here watching, my mom. This is not that bad. And after that, I was fearless.
Ne-Yo. In the mid-90s, Ne-Yo is in an R&B group called Envy, but he doesn't go by Ne-Yo. He goes by Go-Go. Why? We couldn't even fathom. Envy also features Corey Clark, who will go on to gain fame from American Idol and other controversies. Envy takes the Apollo stage to perform their rendition of In the Hood by Donell Jones. Now, instead of struggling to explain why the crowd booed these young men, go ahead and watch this clip. And on that note, let's move on. Jamie Foxx. In the late 80s and early 90s, Jamie Foxx was on the prowl to jumpstart his comedy career. As he was being introduced to take the stage, the host Sinbad casually mentioned that he's a comedian from LA. Immediately, the audience started booing without even giving him a chance to showcase his skills. He says the crowd became very animated, booing him in riffs and in opera. To this day, he says that remains his favorite memory of the Apollo.
So I came here, I got dressed in the stairwell. Sinbad brought me on, said I was from LA. I was doing stand-up comedy. They started booing me before I even get out. But as they was booing me, I just sort of looked at the whole room and I was like, one day I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna light this motherfucker up. As they was booing me, I still went into a little music. How can you boo me right now? Here in the Apollo, I'm coming back one day. Yes, I will. Yes, I will.
D'Angelo. At just 16 years old, a young D'Angelo took the Apollo stage not once, but twice. The first time he went, he took a bus with aspiring acts, and the talent managers tried to encourage them to sing certain songs so they wouldn't be booed. They wanted D'Angelo to sing a Luther Vandross song, but he wanted to sing a Peabo Bryson song. After being convinced he would be booed, he tried to change it, but it was too late. He was up next. Before he got on stage, rubbing the log for luck, the girl that was leaving the stage was crying. She had sang a gospel song and was horrifyingly booed like talent managers predicted. As the MC announces him to take the stage, he mentions that he is from the Deep South. And before D'Angelo could completely walk out, the crowd was aggressively booing him. Despite this, he ended up winning over the crowd once he started singing and earned the opportunity to come back to perform the next week. The next week, everyone kept trying to convince him once again to sing a Luther Vandross song. And once again, D'Angelo stuck to his guns, this time deciding to sing something more up-tempo, a cover of Johnny Gill's Rub You the Right Way. Now, we can't really envision D'Angelo busting out in full choreography while spelting the new jack swing type tune, but it was enough for him to take home the big win.
Brother Lord. All right, and the MC comes out. It's like, yeah, so we got this kid. He's from way down, deep down south. Boo, boo. Like, I didn't even walk out on the stage. Long story short, I won them over, and, you know, I placed, and then I got the opportunity to come back. When I came back, did my own background music. I did my own background vocals. It's like, I'm not doing no Luther Vandross or nothing. I'm gonna do some up-tempo shit and, you know, whatever. I won first place.
What song, you did, what original song of yours, or was it a...
Nah, I did Rub You the Right Way by Johnny Gill.
Lauryn Hill. At the tender age of 13, Lauryn appeared on the Apollo stage singing a lovely rendition of Who's Loving You by the Jackson 5. Now, little Lauryn may have been a little nervous, but the audience could have gave her a second to get comfortable. After ferociously booing her, she pulled through and later got into her rhythm.
Had you, I treat you bad.
She did not win that night. I would say that having the best-selling female hip-hop album in the last 24 years and be one of the very few artists that can rap just as well as they can sing, selling over 20 million with one album and becoming a legend in the music world is a real win in this case. Ella Fitzgerald. In 1934, a 17-year-old Ella Fitzgerald and two other girlfriends put their names in a hat at the Apollo as a bet. The last thing she thought would happen was that her name would be drawn. Completely dumbfounded and not knowing what to do when she was put on stage, Ella was going to dance, but being that she went on right after the famous dancing duo, she was scared she wouldn't measure up to them. As she looked out into the crowd trying to figure out what she was going to do, the crowd became restless, laughing at her. Thinking on her feet, Ella tried to sing The Object of My Affection by Connie Boswell. As she began to sing, it was a complete mess. The MC, Ralph Cooper, ran on stage to help her recollect herself. Then on her second attempt, she pulled a clean 180, killing her performance and winning the first prize along with $25. James Brown. Yes, the king himself was one of the talented, blessed souls that was tackled with boos by the Apollo audience. In this specific scenario, the audience had no right because he wasn't even singing or dancing yet. The crowd took one look at James and started booing him under the pavement. Boo the man for his fit, y'all. Billy Mitchell, who has been working for the theater since he was a teenager, recalls this from that very night. The first time he ever did amateur night, he was booed. Not because of his performance. He was booed because the audience didn't like the type of clothes he had on. The guy had just come up from Georgia. When he walked in on stage with those country garments, the crowd laid it onto him. The next week, James Brown borrowed a pair of pants and a shirt from one of our stagehands. He came back on with his New York shirt and pants, and he won the show. Other winners of the famous amateur night included Billie Holiday, Jimi Hendrix, the Isley Brothers, and the Jackson 5. Any thoughts? How do y'all feel about these stars getting booed before their big break? Leave a comment below and let us know your take.